talking right now. We did that about 4 or 5 years ago, had a conversation with them. Went up yesterday and just had a new conversation with them and got an update, and they had a lot to share, so I'm going to share that with you today. So starting out with the one-on-one outreach, we've been finalizing our outreach materials. I think that, again, we're looking to change up the conversation, be less reactive, be more proactive, so that conversation requires us to really change how we have that conversation, and it also requires us to change the materials. So we're working on changing up those materials. We're also sending letters to the property owners. We think it's important for us to be respectful to the property owners who have tenants out there along the corridor. So we want to make sure that they understand that we're going to be going out and meeting with businesses who are tenants and not causing any concerns, or at least giving them an opportunity to ask us not to if they'd rather us not, or have an opportunity to understand that we're going to be going out and talking with their tenants. And that could create some questions between the tenants and the landlord. Also, we're looking at how we're going to be discussing and moving forward with property impacts. So we've done quite a few kind of avoid and minimize exercises where we've really cut back considerably on the impact that we have on the businesses. But we do still have some impacts out there on the businesses and on the properties. So again, we've been meeting with the City of Eugene, and they're very interested in partnering with us to the point of being able to go out with us to properties, especially properties that do have impacts and potentially have some code concerns or potentially have some non-conforming code issues. So they're very interested in going out and looking at, going out and talking with those businesses with us. Prior to that, we're going to be scheduling a meeting with them to go over those businesses that we know have probably some significant impacts and potentially have more of the kind of non-conforming code issues. So that when we go out and talk with them, we can provide them some confidence about how those non-conformities can be handled. And there are several different ways that they can be handled. But that's a lot of fear, again, that's been built up out in the community. And a lot of it is not necessarily in our realm or in our jurisdiction. So if we can go out there to the businesses and the property owners when we are doing these one-on-ones and provide a level of confidence in what they can expect, I think that's very helpful. At least help them have a good understanding. We have gone out and talked with some businesses, and there's a couple of businesses in particular that have probably more impacts than other businesses that we've talked to. And some of them are very concerned. Grace is one of them. We're actually changing access. We're changing how the traffic moves near Grace, so they're concerned about access. But they also perceive that they're going to lose up to half of their parking, and they have a little coffee stand in there that, according to our designs, would make it so that one half of that coffee stand couldn't be served by cars. So one of the things that we're looking at doing, we have to be really careful at this point because we are in the environmental process. So we have to be really careful not to do anything that's going to change the design. But we can have conversations with businesses like Grace who are really stressed about this and losing sleep over this. And one of the things that we've talked about doing and we're looking into doing is having a local engineering firm come in and take a look at their parking lot and see if there aren't opportunities to optimize the parking there so that they aren't losing so much parking, and also maybe ways that we can mitigate that coffee stand. So I think that coffee stand has an opportunity maybe to move or shift, and so maybe it could continue to serve as a coffee shop.
That's what I was going to ask, is that a coffee stand, and I know it's an important issue to the owner, but is it an important enough issue for us to consider another mitigation?
Well, I think that's one of the things that an engineer can take a look at and see if the coffee stand can continue to be viable under our current designs. And I think that it can. But again, the engineers, they're the professionals of that, so they can come in and take a look at that.
We just want to remember how much money those coffee stands can make.
They can.
Well, as I said, I'm sure the owner
$250,000 a month.
A month?
So a year.
Oh, a year.
And we'd have coffee in the parking lot.
We got lots of stands up.
So I want to point out too that some of these conversations are conversations typically that wouldn't happen until later in the project. Typically these conversations would happen when we get into preliminary engineering, which doesn't happen until we're through the environmental process. So typically we just do conceptual design, and we don't really look at this level until we get a little bit later. But that's one of the actually benefits, I think, of the kind of the involvement of the community in this project is that we can have these conversations earlier. And we don't want people losing sleep. So if we can't have these conversations and provide some level of confidence, it's worthwhile to have those conversations.
Involvement is quite a tactful way to put it.
I try to be tactful. We're also working on our speakers bureau, so we're looking to go out to civic, professional, neighborhood organizations. It's really tough right now. We've got a lot of feelers out there trying to get on people's agenda for either the summer or the fall. But it's pretty tough right now because a lot of organizations go dark in the summer. But we do have a lot of feelers out there, planning to start with the Neighborhood Leaders Association and then go out to the neighborhoods from there. We're working with the Rotaries and the Chambers and the different groups to get on their calendars. So again, it's not an easy thing to do this time of year, but for sure by the fall. But we're trying to get on as early as we can because I know that that's important for us to do.
I hate to be a dead horse, but I'm gonna beat this horse anyway. I still think that we need to go back to looking at strongly a citizen advisory council. I think that that's the perfect opportunity where, you know, if we want to, you know, have the narrative told the way that it should be told, it needs to come from people who are in the community, who have some input into, you know, where we are coming from in terms of our decision-making processes, and have real, authentic engagement with neighborhoods and businesses in the community. And that, I think, can better inform our decision-making process as well as our message and communications to folks out in the community. I mean, no knock on you guys, because you do a great job, and I think that, you know, I want to bring this up again, because I think it's a perfect opportunity to talk about something that I think that we should have been engaged with, you know, a long time ago.
So, I think I raised this within the last month, probably in one of these meetings. My understanding is that we have spoken, we've contacted the NPC, Citizens Advisory Council. And it may have been you that gave the answer, Mark. The answer that I recall was that they've agreed to serve on sort of an as-needed basis as we approach them. And maybe what we need to do is to make sure that we're on their schedule at least once a month, just to sort of do an update and they get feedback. I like what you're saying, Greg, because they are an established group and they're accustomed, they've got mechanisms and structure in place to get input from other people, and they do this on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, but they're looking at the entire transportation piece, roads, highways, bridges, all of that. I mean, if we could develop a more formalized relationship in terms of, you know, them taking us on as you know, part of a, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, more prescribed kind of role and duty, I would feel more comfortable about that. I think we need some consistency and some regularity. I think we really need to have, you know, a few more tentacles out in the community than what we already have. And, you know, I think that we need to have that in a more formal, through more formal channels than just as an ad hoc, as-needed basis. I think that we need it all the time. That's just my view, so.
Gary?
Well, we do have a perfect opportunity in that the CAC meets tomorrow evening at the library. And I could see us talking about forming, say, a subcommittee of that group to meet with a subcommittee of LTD to work out some kind of formal arrangement. And I think people would be on the CAC, not to speak for the whole committee, but I think folks would be amenable to that process.
Would you see any problem, would you need to have us on the agenda, or would it to be a more informal?
Well, we have, you know, their agenda has items similar to we do, where any member can bring up any discussion point. Sounds like there's already been an inroad, so it shouldn't be a shock to them.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be willing to bring it up
we'll submit
As a
to staff to
suggestion.
come as well and meet with them. At least get a reaction from the committee, see what they say. And I think kind of that might meet your expectation, Greg, if it's a subset or some, so it's not just a kind of an add-on to them, but it's actually a specific function that we can do, and we can try it and see how it works.
I
Maybe
think that
augment
would,
it, I don't know.
yeah, I think that would be more in line with what I'm thinking. I'd also think that in line with that, we need to make sure that we have stakeholders for LTD's constituencies represented on that committee. Because I don't see that, excuse me, there's a lot of business people that are on the CAC. There's a lot of our ridership that's represented there. There's other constituencies in the community that are represented there, but we need to make sure that we have I would say a full menu of constituencies and stakeholders represented, in that arena, because that's one of the things I keep hearing from people in the community, and the feedback that I'm getting is that, we are not getting the total picture of what we should be getting in terms of listening to what the community is saying to us. And I think that if we are able to, get a more consistent, broader dialogue, that I think will help us, be a lot more informed, and a lot more sensitive to some of the issues that are out there. So I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but I'm just saying, I think that we really need to, look deeply into doing that. I know other agencies do it, and other transit properties do it. I think that, we really need to look at being more formal in terms of that relationship, and we need to make sure that our stakeholders are adequately represented.
Okay. Well, we'll start maybe tomorrow night.
Okay. Sounds good. Good timing.
Yeah.
I think having staff there would be a good idea, because it would probably be awkward for Gary to try and be wearing both hats at once.
Well, he's actually a official representative, so but we'll have a staff there as well, Ed, don't worry, yeah, we'll have that covered as well.
And I'm also great, that was one of the things that TriMet said, has really helped them, is having a citizens advisory committee. But really very carefully making sure that you have the right people. They also said it's very intensive for staff to manage and to respond, but it has been very successful for them to have conversations, two-way conversations with the community, and it means more coming from a community leader than it does, from the agency. So I think that this sounds like a really great opportunity. Just also a business assistance program. I think I mentioned this last month, where we're looking at putting together packaging resources in the community. We have really a lot of resources in the community, a lot more than I had any idea. When you start scratching the surface, more and more start coming out. So lots of resources in the community for businesses, and not necessarily just resources that will help them with our project, but resources that can help them just in general with their business. TriMet does this. They have this program. I mentioned this. And the people who most often take advantage of this program, again, these are low interest loans. This is marketing counseling. This is creating a business plan. This is a lot of different things that businesses can use. Most of the businesses are kind of the mom and pops. And we have a lot of those along our corridor, so I think that will be a very successful program. We're continuing to meet with the resources in the area to identify and make sure we can get these packaged together. That's not critical for us to go out on our one-on-ones. We can start our one-on-ones without that. That'll be a nice addition though when it is done. And then we also have Calvin, he's our intern here in the back, and he's been working on putting together a business case. So this is something that creates a business case for EmX, why EmX is successful, and why it's going to be good in this corridor. And we kind of floated it today with Dean Corchi. And that business case is looking at EmX from an operational point of view, from an LTD point of view. What are the benefits of EmX? When does EmX work the best over a regular fixed route? What are kind of the thresholds where EmX works better? Also looking at it from the community's point of view. What are the advantages and the benefits for the community? And also the adjacent properties. There's a lot of benefits for adjacent properties, and that can be seen more so at places that TriMet. We haven't had BRT around for a really long time to really be able to measure that, but up in TriMet, where they've had lots of different transit services and higher level transit services, they do see that. They do see a lot of benefits for the adjacent properties. And then I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our meeting yesterday And then we met with Ann Becklin, who is the Andy for capital projects. So they actually have two Andys there, so lucky. And what we learned from TriMet, it was really, really good and really, really important for us to go up there. What we learned is the problems and the issues and the concerns that we're having, the struggles that we're having here, they're having there. And just like everything else with TriMet, they're having it in a much bigger way. So they're having a lot of the same issues, a lot of the same struggles. The economy is playing a role in everything. There's a lot of opposition to their projects, and they're having a tough time getting buy-in, where they actually had quite a bit of momentum. They kind of feel like they're losing some of that momentum. So the struggles that we're having are almost identical to the struggles that they're having. Some of the strategies that they have, I think that we have the same opportunities to employ, would be the new general manager. TriMet got a new general manager about a year ago, and that was a great opportunity and a great excuse for them to go out and get into some of the civic groups and the business groups, all the groups that we're trying to get into. So that gives us a good foothold and a good way to get into some of those groups. They also took an inside-out and outside-in approach. So they looked inside and they communicated outward to the community, but they also made sure that the community had opportunities to have input into the project, which a CAC would be part of that type of way of doing that. We also talked there about ready to launch a political campaign, and we talked to them a little bit about the advertising that we've done for this project, and they said, oh, that wouldn't be a political campaign in our mind, that's just everyday advertising for us. You know, we do those kind of communications all the time. It's our responsibility because we are we're the transit professionals, we're the experts, and it's important for us to make sure that people have good information, accurate information, and are well informed. They're also working on some grassroots efforts. I know that that's something that we've been working on too. We have a lot of folks actually who want to help LTD, and they come to us and say, how can I help? So they're working on some grassroots efforts, kind of a Friends of TriMet project. That's something that they're just getting started, not really any farther along than we are, but that's something that they think is really important to the future of their transit, and they think that it will help kind of give them some momentum in their projects. So one of the things that they thought was really important and that we're doing, and that I know Mike, you're really very interested in us doing, is getting to know our businesses better. So getting to know our businesses better in a way and tracking our knowledge of our businesses. So we want to know when their deliveries are made. We want to know when their garbage is picked up. We want to know what the biggest sales days are for them, because that's all really good information for us to gather in pre-construction, so that when we get into construction, we're going to kind of already know a lot of that, and it's going to be easy for us to plan around. Also, opportunities to market the businesses during construction. We do that now, but maybe there's some opportunities for us to do more of that, and they gave us some good examples. One example was a lunch bus where they took people from TriMet and they would go out to one of the restaurants, just on a day, they would go out to one of the restaurants, all eat at that restaurant, and that kind of gave a bit of a boost to those restaurants. And also looked at the buying power. They would encourage their staff, they would encourage people to go out and patronize the businesses out along the corridor. And then they would kind of add up how much they spent on the corridor. So if you needed a haircut, they would tell you to go out along West 11th, as much as possible, encourage you to go out along West 11th and get a haircut. So again, really trying to drive their staff to walk the walk and go out there and patronize these businesses. So that's all I have.
So I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
Because I've heard reference in both the past tense and future tense about the one-on-ones. Have we actually started those, or are we going to start them?
We've done some. We haven't done the ones like what we're going to do, where we're just going to actually go out and start walking the corridor. So again, we thought it was important to have the property owners notified. So some of them we know that they're business or property owner businesses. So those we can go out. So like Grace and some of those we can go out to, but the other ones we thought it was important to do make sure that we do due diligence and make sure that we contact the business property owner first. And so we haven't actually started those yet. Those will start on July 5th. So if you want to come walk along with me.
So the owner, the property owner, business owner, whether it's one person, you've done some of those already?
We have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.